The Wasabi Fenway Bowl in Boston, Massachusetts. Virginia versus SMU to kick off Wednesday, December 29th. Guys, if you got any plans Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, you need to clear them because we got some good football to talk about. 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Get up early here. We got Virginia, SMU, Rob Vino, -2. We're seeing Virginia as the favorite here, 71.5. Both of these offensive have been good all season long, except it's way up there, in the Northeast, Boston, Massachusetts, a baseball stadium, weather going to be an issue, kind of a lot of different factors going into this handicap. Virginia, SMU, how are you looking to bet the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, Robbie?
Yeah, how about the 11 o'clock in the morning start time, Drew? That is kind of the only thing that prevents me from saying over 71.5 should be easy, much like Western Kentucky over was easy. Some of these bowl games where we've seen high-powered offenses and lack of defenses have gone over the number, flying over the number, as a matter of fact, so far. 11 a.m., not so sure that everybody's going to be ready at 11 a.m., so maybe you avoid the first half over and go full game. I don't know. It could still get over real easy if everybody comes to play here. There's some problems coaching wise for SMU. Obviously, you get the interim head coach Jim Leavitt here, but Jim Leavitt is a lame duck. And as we speak, Rhett Lashley, the new head coach for SMU, is actually looking for a defensive coordinator. So Leavitt's not going to be asked to stick around. I don't know who's going to call plays on offense for this team, guys. I haven't read it yet. I've searched. Apparently, only 2 offensive assistants have stuck around at SMU. Your wide receivers coach and your tight ends coach, neither one of them was involved in the play calling or the game planning or anything like that. The offensive coordinator, Garrett Riley, Lincoln's little brother, is gone off to TCU with Sonny Dykes, as is the co-OC A.J. Ricker, both gone. So I think play calling could be an issue for SMU here as well. Bronco Mendenhall, on the other side, announces his resignation, but it's not going to come till after the bowl game. So their staff stays pretty much intact, even though Tony Elliott, Clemson OC, is waiting in the wings to take over this program. It's been kind of a rallying point from what I've read so far leading into this game for the players. Win one for the coach. They like their coach. The upperclassmen want to win this game for him. So I think motivationally, it's all in Virginia's court here as far as that aspect is concerned. And that's a huge aspect when you're handicapping these bowl games for SMU. A couple of opt-outs here, Reggie Roberson and Danny Gray, 2 of the top 3 wide receivers on SMU. You could easily say SMU is loaded with receivers. Who cares? But Reggie Roberson and Danny Gray are huge pieces. And 14er Mordecai, who's played quarterback all year long with these guys, losing 100 receptions, losing 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns. It's a big deal. They still have weapons. I mean, they have Grant Calcaterra at tight end. They have Rasheed Rice, has been their number 1 receiver. But it's going to be tougher for SMU. I think all Virginia players are here. Nobody opted out of this game. Again, I think that's a tribute to the coach sticking around. They just want to win this game for him. Their quarterback, Brennan Armstrong, we know he had a rib injury about 6 weeks ago. It affected him a little bit in the Pittsburgh game. I'm not so sure how much it affected him in the Virginia Tech loss. He did run the ball 9 times, but he's the healthiest he's been in 6 weeks. And when he's healthy, boy, he's tough to contend with. I think the difference offensively here between these two teams is SMU's got a running game. Virginia really doesn't even try to run the football. They throw the football 62% of the time. 77% of their yards come off of the pass. So Armstrong and his mobility, key to Virginia with him healthy. I think that's a problem for SMU, but SMU can run it. And Virginia hasn't stopped anybody, guys. I mean, that run defense has been horrible all season long, 226 yards a game allowed. So SMU may be able to balance off the losses of the wide receivers with this ground game, which again would lead to points, right? I mean, the early start, again, is the only thing keeping me back from saying over 71.5 here. I think, SMU hasn't seen a bunch of mobile quarterbacks this year. Desmond Ridder and Max Dugan were the 2 I could find. Desmond Ridder absolutely shredded them. Duggan had a pretty good game as well. if you're looking at the total, 3 of UVA's last 5 games have gone over 85 points. 3 of SMU's last 5 games have gone over 80 points. So obviously this adds up to playing this game over the total. Quarterback pressure might be a little bit of something to worry about. Virginia gets none of it. SMU allows none of it, so Mordecai should stand back there all day long when he has to throw. To me, it comes down to the motivation in this game. I think of all the plays, I probably like UVA the best. They're -2.5. They're still under a field goal. The weather in Yankee Stadium, in Fenway Park for this one is supposed to be around 40 degrees, partly sunny with some clouds. So I think I'll look towards UVA at this point in time, -4.5. But again, I just want to point out that these games we're talking about go a week from now. And this rapid spike in coronavirus and COVID knocking kids out of games is something we worried about last year, and we couldn't release plays early because you never knew if your team was going to be ravaged at game time. And we're kind of in that same boat again. As for now, I'd look to UVA. Let's hope they stay healthy.
Yeah, good points there, Robbie. And Ralph, coming to you next. This matchup, a lot of moving parts. I mean, the head coaches, and it's happening in bowl season, but especially here, the Virginia one, that was surprising to me. I thought he got that ball rolling. And SMU, bringing in Rhett Lashley, but he's not going to be coaching in the bowl game. How does that really affect your handicap? And what are you thinking here, Virginia, SMU, Ralph?
Well, BYU, Mendenhall, I'm thinking BYU in my head. Virginia is a unique situation because 99 out of 100% of the time, a coach is getting fired or he's leaving to go to another job. Very rarely do you have the rally, we can play around you, head coach. I give them a 2 or 3 point intangible for that. SMU, he leaves for another job, takes almost all of his coaches. The one coach he doesn't take, Levitt, is, again, the one stuck behind the head coach. Both OCs are not going to be here. Anai is not going to call plays for Virginia, and we don't know who's going to call plays from SMU. So that is a negative for the over for me, is that the play calling is going to be up to someone else. I did go to my database, guys, and since 2011, when there's a bowl total of 70 or more, there's only one this year, and it's this bowl. Those bowls have gone 19-9, 68% to the over. So there's a reason. I'll talk about the very low totals when we get to the Cheez-It Bowl and the very high totals. There's a reason the totals are that high, and there's a reason those totals are that low, but it has played the way it's supposed to with those totals going over. Just a couple things I want to mention. Both teams finished horribly on the season. SMU losing 4 of their last 5, Virginia losing their last 4. Rob mentioned the 2 wide receivers for SMU. There are 6 starters that put their name in the transfer portal for Virginia. We'll see what happens. Might they pull them out because a new head coach has been named? Will they take them back? Might they actually go somewhere before the bowl? When you have 3 offensive linemen in the transfer portal, that's another concern for me for Virginia. But one of the biggest stories is because they hired Tony Elliott from Clemson as the head coach, Brennan Armstrong said he's staying. That's the biggest thing, is not losing Armstrong as your quarterback, playing in this bowl game, and know he's going to be your quarterback for next year. That's the biggest thing for me to be on the Virginia side, as well as them playing for Bronco. Looking at the WagerTalk Bowl Guide, I wanted to point out Virginia's played the number 37 schedule. They're 50 yards per game. SMU's played the number 89 schedule, and they're plus 50 yards per game. So we have 2 identical teams with season-to-date stats identical. One's played the number 37 schedule. One's played the number 89 schedule. This price, to me, seems very cheap with that statistical profile in this game. And, finally, I'll say this, is that American Conference dogs, AAC dogs of 6.5 or less, the AAC always says, hey, we want to be a Power 5 conference. And yes, Cincinnati finally got them there this year. But American Conference dogs of 6.5 or less have failed to cover 13 straight games. So to me, that's certainly a reason. You have a higher powered conference with the coaching, with the much better quarterback, with their receivers playing. It's Virginia for me. And Rob did mention the weather. I did look at the forecast, 42 degrees, 24% chance of rain, winds 10 mile an hour. For those that do want the over, that's the important thing to look at. But do check that weather and especially the wind as we get closer to the game.
Ruff, both you and Rob mentioned this in terms of the story behind Bronco Mendenhall leaving. It's kind of a little bit head scratching. He kind of got that ball rolling and he's not even taking another job. It's almost like, really, what's going on there? Do you know that? And also, why are you looking at it as a rallying point if he's kind of quitting on the job?
He's not quitting. He left the program to spend time with his family. That's his reason. Football's a grind, and he's been doing it for that many straight years. And I mean, is any player going to fault you for doing what's best for your family and he's not taking away from the kids. And look, they got Tony Elliott as a head coach. It's not like they hired someone from the inside. So to me, he's a family guy that was, a Mormon head coach for all those years. We know what the Mormon faith is and what faith they put in their family. And Bronco's just that kind of guy. You said it's time for me to spend time with wife and kids.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks for explaining that, Ralph.